Hello there. Welcome to Patio Ponderings with Farmer Joe, aka the American. You know, as I was out here just doing a little watering here in the small garden, taking a break from down on the big place. Today's kind of an errand day for me, and as I was, as we all do, just going through my daily task. I heard the cicadas singing out here. These are things that are kind of background noise that we don't pay attention to. In my part of the United States and Southeast, we have cicadas every summer, and that's what you might hear in the background. And we say they're singing. I'm sure they're shedding skin, talking to each other, and doing something much more intricate than what we've minimized it to be, is singing. But the point is you know, in our daily lives, we go through, our schedules are dictated primarily by hours, minutes, days, months, maybe a year. Most of us don't plan out past a month. But everything that we do, and throughout my life, to be in school at a certain time, school lets out at a certain time, and on into going to work, and you have to clock in, clock out if you have that type of job, and to be there at a certain time, measured by miles, by just so many measurements. But outside of the world that we've created, the rest of the world, the rest of what we call nature, which we are part of whether we realize it or not. But when you do things like growing things or farming or anything, nurturing animals, or raising a child, we start learning, or we're reminded very quickly that everything does not work by hours, minutes, and what you have on your calendar, and everything does not go by that schedule. In fact, most things don't, unless they're things that we've created, that we've dictated as humans. So, as I sat here and listened to the cicadas sing to me, you know, people from a time when their days weren't dictated by the hours and minutes and going where they need to go by a certain time frame, they would listen to these things like the cicadas singing, or maybe how what the plants are doing. If certain plants are hanging their heads at a certain time, as we call it, hanging their heads to drop the seeds, you know that it's time to move into the next phase, even though it's still hot outside right now. I know, without looking at any weather, and I do, obviously, I use what we have, all the different technology that we have. Why not? We have it. But we often forget about listening to the cicadas sing. And what are they telling us? Well, I'll give you an example. They come in the heat of the summer, and they usually sing in the afternoons when it's cooler in the beginning of the summer. As the summer progresses, as you can tell, it's late morning right now, and they're singing. Now, when it gets in the height of the day, or the heat of the day, excuse me, they will stop. And when it starts cooling down later in the day, before sunset, they'll sing. And that progresses more and more as we get closer to fall. And even the song changes, where it's more of a constant sound. I'm not going to imitate it and seem pretty silly here on this video. But I call this patio ponderings because we're left with, how does that apply to us? Well, there's many things. On the practical side, you know, I've made a concerted effort to try to start learning old ways, because most of us have lost that, unless you read in a farmer's almanac, or you're fortunate enough to have someone. Things like planting by the signs. There's such a science to that. You know, some people chalk it up as wives' tales or old folk stories, you know, but these things were used for thousands of years prior to us having phones and living by the tick tock of the clock. So as these cicadas sing to me right now, after a few years of really making a concerted effort to grow things to eat and to sell at times, and just using that as an example, as they progressively sing, they're telling me right now, if I'm observant enough and not sucked into things like what I'm talking on right now, they are increasingly telling me, okay, and you pay attention to the days. Even though you're hot at noon, if you take the time to notice, it's getting a little cooler. It's the end of July right now, and the nights are getting cooler. I don't mean they're cool, but they're cooler. They're not as hot. And so it tells me right now, I have enough time, as far as planting is concerned, I have enough time to put in my 60-day growing type vegetables. My peas, maybe squeeze in one more run of squash, beans, and zucchini, things like that. And it also tells me in the next couple of weeks, as these cicadas increasingly sing, and many other things around me, that it's time to start putting your fall crops in the ground. And you can obviously follow a calendar or anything else, but it is kind of neat to kind of listen to what we consider background noise, or are oblivious to, or may not even know what those sounds are, have no idea. You know, that can be applied, as I said before, in many other ways in our lives. You know, every day we are bombarded with a constant, just bombarded with constant noise, may it be through social media that we read with our eyes and process through our brains and hear in our heads, turn on any of the news outlets, you know, and you can listen to that, and even though you're maybe not really consuming it, you are consuming it subconsciously, or you're tuning it out. What I would suggest is, if you're going to listen to some things around you, don't listen to the programmed social media, news networks, things like that. Just when you're in the grocery store, listen to what people say, or at the gas pump, or in a diner, and just kind of listen to your friends, not people who are trying to totally convince you. That's fine, you can filter that as a free thinking individual. What I mean is what they're saying when they're not speaking to you, and not filtering what they're saying. And you might have a good idea of what is going on and when and what you need to do, how what actions you may need to take by listening, you know, to just that background noise. Um, so it is applicable to what we have going on in our world because it is our world. But just remember, with all the minutes and TikTok videos or whatever they are out there, these cicadas, these animals, and the rest of the world, it continues to move. And really, what we are is just a minute background noise to all this. They aren't the background noise. We are. And just keep that in mind, even if you don't stop to ponder or to listen. And that will keep things in perspective for you. And it'll tell you what you need to do and what actions you need to take as a free thinking individual without someone specifically packaging, marketing a message or something for you to consume. So I guess that's it for porch time or patio ponderings. We will have some porch time ponderings at some point. Just stop and listen to the cicada sing or the birds chirp or observe what things are doing, or take a break and notice that the breeze has a hint of coolness to it, which later will turn into crisp wind and breeze. And then it'll tell you what you need to do. So this is the American, also known as Farmer Joe, out.